Hello class. This video will explain how to find the X-intercept and the Y-intercept. This is for any of you guys who feel like you need a little bit more explanation. Okay, so we are going to start with the X-intercept. And the X-intercept is really just a point on the graph that crosses the x-axis. Okay, so the point we're talking about is this point right over here that's on the x-axis. Okay, so when we're trying to find that point, you'll notice that any point that's on the x-axis, whether it's that one or this one or this one, you'll notice that their y value is always going to be 0. Okay, so that's the idea that we're going to use to find the x-intercept. So finding x-intercept. Okay, so what we do, since the y value for any point on the x-axis is always 0, we are going to replace the y values with 0. And once we do that, then we will solve for x. Okay? So that's how you find the x-intercept. You always replace the y value with 0 and solve for x. Okay, so let's take a look at an example here. Find the x-intercept of this equation. Suppose that I have this 2x minus 3y equals -6. Okay, so I have this equation. I have an x and a y in this equation. So if I want to find the x-intercept, I will be solving for x. So I will replace the y value. That's this one right over here. I'm going to replace that y value with 0, okay? Because it says right here, replace the y value with 0, okay? So I'm going to write 2x minus 3 times 0, okay? So I'm replacing that y with a 0. I'm trying to get red. Okay. So I replaced that y with 0, and now I can go ahead and solve for x. So I get 2x. 3 times 0 is just going to be 0, okay? So 2x minus 0 equals -6. 2x minus 0 is just 2x, okay? And now solving for x, I just need to divide both sides by 2. Okay? And it turns out that x equals -3. Okay? So my x-intercept is going to be at -3, 0. The x value always goes first, and then the y value goes second. Okay? And that's basically how it works. Whenever you are trying to find the x-intercept, all you do is replace the y with 0 and solve for x. All right, let's take a look at the y-intercept. Okay, so the y-intercept is the part of the graph that is crossing the y-axis. Okay, so when we look at this again, and we look at this line, this graph, okay, so then that's the point right here, the point of the graph that crosses the y-axis. Okay, that's the y-axis. Okay, so if you notice any point that's on the y-axis, whether it's that one or this one or this one, they all have an x value of 0. Okay, so when it comes to finding the y-intercept, what we're going to do here is we're going to be solving for y. So we need to replace the x value with 0. Okay, then solve for y. Okay, so let's do an example. Find the y-intercept of 2x minus 3y equals -6. Okay, so it says here to replace the x value with 0. Okay, so that's this right here. Okay, so I'm going to write 2 times, and I'm going to replace that x with 0. Okay, so let's replace that x with 0. Okay, and now I can go ahead and simplify this and solve for y. Okay, so just remember the x-intercept you solve for x, y-intercept you solve for y. Okay, so this is 0. And this is just going to be -3y equals -6. Okay. And then we solve for y, so we need to divide both sides by -3. Okay, they cancel out. So we get y equals to +2 because we have that double negative right there. Double negative gives you positive. Okay. So our answer will look like this. The x value goes first, and the x is always 0 for the intercept. And we get 2 for the y value. Okay? So that's how you find intercepts. If we graph this, then we have to graph this point right here, 0, 2. And let's get the one before it. And this one right here, -3, 0. Okay? So -3, 0, and 0, 2. So let's do that one here. So let's graph. I'll write that equation again. It was 2x minus 3y equals -6. And we'll graph it using intercepts. Okay? All right, so from above, see the work above. Okay, so it turns out our x-intercept is -3, 0. And our y-intercept was 0, 2. Okay, so what I want to do now is plot these points. Okay, so I'm going to plot these points. This is our x-axis. That's our y-axis. Okay, these are like number lines. So this is like +1, +2, +3. Okay, and the other side will be negative. So like this here would be -1, -2, and -3, etc. -4, -5, -6. Okay, so if you want, you could write the numbers underneath. I don't do it because then sometimes it gets crowded. So I just count them in my head. Okay, and the same thing with the y-axis up here. That's like +1, +2, +3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so again, if you want to number them, you can. Okay, and then down below are the negatives. So there's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this first point here, -3, 0. So that's -3 on the x and 0 on the y. So -3 for the x and 0 for the y. So that puts me right over here. That's the point -3, 0. Now let me go ahead and graph this point 0, 2. Again, that first number 0 is the x, and that second number 2 is the y value. So I'm going to go 0 on the x, 2 on the y. So that would place me right here. And you can see our 2 points are on the axes. One is on the x-axis, one is on the y-axis. Those are called the intercepts. Okay, and there's your graph. Okay, so if you have any questions, just make sure you email me or type your question in the Zoom chat the next time we have class.